Ethan slowly opened his eyes to a soft white light above him. His body felt heavy, his chest burned, and a dull pain ran through his left arm. He tried to move, but something warm pressed against his shoulder. A hand, small and gentle. "Don't move," a calm voice said. The words were clear, but the tone was different, soft and melodic. He turned his head slightly and saw her. The nurse was not human. Her skin had a faint shimmer like moonlight on silver water. Her eyes were large, glowing faintly blue, and her hair fell in soft strands that seemed to shift color with the light. She wore a simple white uniform marked with strange glowing symbols. "You are safe," she said. "You are in recovery. Please rest." Ethan blinked. "Where am I?" His voice was rough, dry. "Medical ward. Orbital Station 12, she answered. "You were found after the crash. Your body suffered major trauma. I am your assigned caretaker, Nurse Lyra." Her tone was calm, professional. Yet something about the way she looked at him didn't feel cold. It felt curious. Over the next few days, Ethan healed under her care. She changed his bandages, adjusted his medications, and helped him sit up when he was strong enough. Every time she touched him, he felt a strange warmth that had nothing to do with fever. She spoke very little about herself, but sometimes when she thought he was asleep, she would hum a soft tune, low and sad. It reminded him of rain on metal rooftops. One evening, as she replaced the fluids in his drip, Ethan said, "You don't sleep much, do you?" She paused. "We require less rest than humans," he smiled faintly. "That explains why you're always watching me." Her eyes widened slightly, the glow brightening. "I was only monitoring your vitals," she said quickly. "I know," he said, still smiling. "Just making conversation." Lyra turned away, but he could see her ears, slightly pointed, change color. A faint violet blush spreading along their edges. The next morning, Ethan woke to a strange sight. Lyra stood near his bed, completely still. Her hands were clenched and her breathing was uneven. "Lyra?" he said softly. She looked up as if waking from a dream. Her pupils were wide and her eyes glowed brighter than before. "I'm fine," she said too quickly. "Just tired," Ethan frowned. "You sure?" "You look—" She interrupted him. "Please lie down, patient. You should not be concerned about me." Her voice was firm, but there was something behind it, something she was hiding. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The lights dimmed to simulate nighttime and the station was silent. Only the soft hum of machines filled the air. Then he heard something utter whisper. His name, Ethan. He turned his head. Lyra stood by the doorway, half in shadow. Her breathing was fast, her hands trembling. "You're dreaming," he muttered. "No," she said softly, stepping closer. "I can't." "Stop it." Her eyes shimmered like liquid fire. She looked at him, not like a nurse looking at a patient, but like something deeper, older, dangerous. Ethan sat up slightly. "Lyra, what's wrong?" she gasped, pressing a hand to her chest. "It's nothing. I just need air." Before he could reply, she turned and ran out of the room. The next day, Lyra acted as if nothing had happened. She worked quietly, avoided his gaze, and didn't speak unless necessary. But Ethan noticed small things. The way her hands shook when she touched him. The way she sometimes closed her eyes and took slow breaths when standing near. Other alien staff began whispering when she passed. Ethan caught bits of their conversation. "It's early. Her cycle. Impossible." He didn't understand what they meant, but the way they looked at her made his stomach twist. That night, Lyra came to check his vitals again. Ethan pretended to be asleep. Through half-closed eyes, he watched her gently touch his forehead. Her hand lingered too long. "You heal fast," she whispered, "stronger than I expected." Her fingers traced the edge of his bandage. For a second, she looked as if she might pull away, but she didn't. Her breathing deepened. The glow in her eyes brightened until her whole face shimmered faintly. Then something strange happened. The monitor beside Ethan's bed began to beep rapidly. He opened his eyes. "Lyra." She jumped back as if shocked, clutching her hand to her chest. The monitor screen flashed, but the data wasn't his. It was hers. Her heart rate was spiking uncontrollably. Ethan frowned. "You okay? That's your readout, isn't it?" She didn't answer. She only stared at him, her glowing eyes wide, filled with fear and something else. Something she didn't want to name. Then, without a word, she turned off the monitor, stepped back and said quietly, "You should rest, please. Don't ask questions." Ethan wanted to say something, but the look on her face stopped him. She looked like someone standing on the edge of a secret too big to carry. When the lights dimmed again, Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The image of her trembling hands, her glowing eyes, her voice whispering his name, it all burned in his mind. Whatever was happening to her, it wasn't just stress or exhaustion. It was something deeper, and somehow he knew. It had something to do with him. As the night grew colder, the only sound in the room was the quiet hum of machines. But on one of the side screens, the readings flickered again. 2 pulse lines appeared instead of one, his and hers, syncing slowly, beating together. The story was only beginning. Ethan woke up feeling stronger. His wounds were healing faster than expected. The doctors called it remarkable, but Lyra avoided looking him in the eyes whenever someone mentioned it. Her movements were slower now, less precise. She dropped a scanner once and apologized quickly. Her hands shook when she touched him, and her voice carried a quiet tension that hadn't been there before. Ethan tried to make her smile. "You look like you need some rest," he said. She forced a small nod. "Rest is unnecessary. I am functioning properly," but she wasn't. Even the machines noticed. Her vitals flickered each time she came close to him, and one of the other nurses, a tall, gray-skinned male, whispered something that made her freeze. Later, Ethan asked him what it meant. The alien only gave a worried look and muttered, "Her kind is entering the fever." Ethan didn't know what that meant, but the tone was enough to make him uneasy. That night, the room was quiet. Lyra came to change his bandages again, but her breathing was uneven. When she leaned close, he could feel the heat from her skin. Far warmer than normal. "You're burning up," Ethan said softly. "I am fine," she whispered, but her hands trembled as she pressed the bandage down. "Lyra," he said gently, "you saved my life. You don't have to hide anything from me." Her eyes flicked to his, glowing brighter now, the blue light almost pulsing. "You wouldn't understand," she whispered. "Try me." She stepped back, shaking her head. "It is instinct. It happens once every few years. We call it the calling. It should not happen here. Not now. Instinct? Like what kind?" Her lips parted as if she wanted to explain, but she stopped herself. "Please, just don't touch me." She turned and left quickly, leaving him confused and restless. The next day, the medical staff acted strange around her. They spoke in low voices, exchanging worried looks. One of them told Ethan that Lyra had requested temporary reassignment, but no one knew why. When she came back to his room that evening, she looked pale and tired. "They want to move me," she said quietly. "But I don't want to leave yet." "Then don't," Ethan replied. "You're the only one I trust here." That made her look at him. Her eyes softened for the first time that day. But then something in her expression changed, as if that small kindness had triggered something deep inside. She turned away, gripping the table, breathing fast. Ethan stood up, ignoring the ache in his chest. "Lyra?" She didn't answer. Her hands pressed against the metal, and the faint blue glow from her skin spread like ripples. The machines nearby began to react, screens flashing warnings. "Your body's reacting to something," Ethan said, stepping closer. "Stay back," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, Ethan, it's not safe." He ignored her warning and caught her arm to stop her from falling. The moment his skin touched hers, she gasped. Her body went still, and the glow around her grew stronger, wrapping them both in a soft blue light. Her breathing slowed, her eyes locked on his. For a long second, neither moved. Then she pulled away as if burned. "You shouldn't have done that," she said, voice trembling. "What was that?" Ethan asked. Lyra's eyes shimmered with emotion, fear, confusion, and something that looked like longing. "It means my control is breaking." She turned to leave, but before she reached the door, Ethan spoke. "You keep saying it's not safe. For who, you or me?" She stopped, her back to him. "For both." When she left, Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the faint blue traces glowing on his arm where she had touched him. Outside, through the transparent wall of the ward, stars drifted past the station. Somewhere in the quiet, a deep hum echoed through the floor, the sound of a storm in the planet's upper atmosphere. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the look in Lyra's eyes. It wasn't just fear, It was hunger, struggle, something wild fighting to stay hidden. Whatever this fever was, it was getting worse. And for reasons he couldn't understand, it only seemed to happen when he was near. As the lights dimmed for the night cycle, Ethan made a silent promise to himself. He wasn't going to let her face this alone. Somewhere down the corridor, Lyra's voice echoed softly, trembling. Why him? Why now? Her control was fading, and neither of them knew how much time was left before instinct took over completely. Days passed, but the air between Ethan and Lyra only grew heavier. What once felt like quiet care now carried tension, like electricity waiting to spark. Every time their eyes met, both looked away too quickly. Every word they spoke carried something unspoken underneath. Ethan tried to focus on recovery, but his thoughts always returned to her. She moved with precision, yet her breathing quickened when he was near. Sometimes she froze as if fighting against something inside her. That morning, when she came to change his bandage, her hand brushed his skin again. It was only a second, but it was enough. A flash of heat ran through both of them. Lyra gasped and dropped the roll of bandage, her hands trembling. Ethan caught her wrist gently. Lyra, you're burning up again. She pulled away fast. Don't touch me, her voice cracked. You don't know what you're doing. Then tell me, he said softly. I can help. She stepped back, shaking her head. No one can help me now, my kind. When the fever begins, it cannot be stopped. Ethan frowned. Fever? She hesitated, then whispered. We are made to bond through touch. Our bodies release a chemical. It was never meant to react with human cells. But when I healed you, your blood mixed with mine. Now my body believes you are my chosen. Ethan was silent for a long moment. He could see the pain in her eyes, the fear, the guilt. What happens if it's not controlled? He asked. Her lips trembled. It becomes madness. The body shuts down, the mind gives in to instinct. It's why we're kept apart from humans, he looked at her. And if you do give in? Lyra turned away. I hurt you, or worse. I don't want that. Ethan stood up slowly, ignoring the warning beeps from his medical sensors. You saved my life, Lyra. I won't let them take you away because of this. She looked back, startled. They already know. The doctors saw my readings. They've reported me. They'll remove me from service. Remove you? Ethan's voice hardened. You mean punish you for something you can't control? It's not punishment, she said quietly. It's protocol. He clenched his fists. Then I'll talk to them. No, she said, stepping close, her eyes glowing again. If you interfere, they'll sedate me. They'll erase everything, my memories, my mind. You can't save me by speaking. You can only make it worse. Ethan froze. The thought of her being wiped clean, her voice, her kindness, her laughter, felt unbearable. Lyra touched her chest, breathing hard. Please stay away from me. My control is slipping. I can't trust myself anymore. But that night, when the lockdown alarm echoed through the medical bay, she was the first to run toward his room. Ethan woke to flashing red lights. Lyra, he shouted. She burst in, eyes wide and glowing bright, almost wild. They're coming, she said. They want to take me now. Then we'll go, Ethan said, grabbing his jacket. You can't, she whispered. You'll die if you leave this ward in your condition. Then I'll die beside you, he said simply. Her eyes widened. For a second, her body stopped shaking. The glow around her softened. Why would you do that? Because I think you're more human than anyone here, Ethan said. And because I don't want to lose you. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then slowly, she reached out and placed her glowing hand against his chest. The pulse of light spread through him, sinking deep into his skin. His heartbeat matched hers again like before, two rhythms becoming one. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You don't know what this means, she whispered. They'll call it contamination. Let them, Ethan said. I call it connection. Outside, footsteps approached. Guards shouted orders. Lyra turned toward the door, then back at him. Whatever happens, she said, remember, I tried to fight it. The door slid open. The guards raised their stun weapons. Lyra's body tensed. The glow around her grew blinding. Before they could fire, she moved, air fast, graceful, unstoppable. She shoved Ethan behind her and struck one of the guards, sending him flying. Another aimed, but she turned, disarming him in a blur of light and motion. In seconds, the room fell silent except for the hum of her glowing skin. Ethan looked at her in shock. Lyra? She turned to him, eyes burning with something fierce and beautiful. "I can't stop it now," she said. "They'll hunt me." "Then I'll find you first," Ethan said. Her lips trembled. Then in one swift motion, she pressed her glowing hand to his forehead, a brief touch filled with emotion, and fled through the open door. The alarms roared again, echoing down the corridor as Ethan fell to his knees, heart pounding with the same rhythm as hers. He knew this wasn't over. It was only the beginning. The alarms kept echoing through the corridors. Red lights flashed along the metal walls, and Ethan ran despite the pain stabbing in his side. Every step pulled at the half-healed wounds on his chest, but he didn't stop. He could still feel her heartbeat inside him, faint but real, like a signal calling from somewhere deep in the station. Lyra had vanished. The security teams were sweeping every floor. They called her a threat now, not a nurse. Ethan heard the officers shouting orders through the speakers. "Contain her alive if possible, lethal force if not." He gritted his teeth. "They don't even know her," he whispered. He followed the faint blue trail on the floor, a residue of her glowing skin. It led him to a side corridor far from the medical bay. The door was half open, the air thick and heavy. Inside, the lights flickered, and he saw her, crouched near the corner, her body shaking. "Lyra," he said softly. She turned sharply. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever, and for a moment he didn't see the calm nurse who'd saved his life. He saw something powerful and primal, her species' instinct in full control. "Stay back," she warned, voice trembling. "It's happening." He stepped closer. "I told you I wouldn't leave you alone." Her breathing grew faster. "You don't understand, Ethan. My body's losing control. Every cell is calling for bond completion. If I touch you again, it won't stop." "Then don't fight it," he said gently. "You said the fever kills if it's resisted." Her face twisted in pain. "You'll die if I don't resist. My energy will overwhelm you." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm stronger than you think." Her eyes softened for a second, but then her body tensed again. She fell to her knees, clutching her chest as if fighting against invisible chains. Blue light spread beneath her skin, running through her veins like fire. Ethan knelt beside her. "Lyra, look at me." She shook her head. "Go," she gasped. "Before they come." "They're already coming," he said. "And I'm not leaving you." For a heartbeat, everything was still. Then the station's doors burst open behind them. Armed guards poured in, weapons raised. "Don't shoot!" Ethan shouted, but they didn't listen. One of the guards fired a stun beam. It hit the floor beside Lyra, exploding in a burst of light. She screamed, not from pain but from something deeper, a release she could no longer control. The glow from her body flared brighter, flooding the entire corridor with shimmering blue. The shockwave threw the guards backward. Energy rippled through the walls, shorting out the lights. When the smoke cleared, Lyra stood in the center, breathing hard, her body surrounded by faint sparks, her eyes locked on Ethan. "It's too late," she whispered. He stepped forward slowly. "Then let it happen. Whatever it is, we face it together." Her lips trembled. "You shouldn't say things like that." He reached out, and for the first time she didn't pull away. His hand touched her cheek. The moment their skin met, the glow turned golden. The air vibrated with a deep hum, and his heartbeat merged with hers again. For a few seconds, there was peace, calm, warmth, the feeling of two lives syncing perfectly. Then Lyra jerked back, gasping for breath. "You've linked to me fully," she said. "They'll sense it. They'll call you contaminated." "Let them try," he said. The corridor lights flickered on again. More guards appeared at the far end, led by the head doctor. His expression was cold. "Restrain them both." Ethan moved to protect her, but Lyra pushed him aside. "No, they'll kill you if you resist." "I'm not letting them take you," he said. Lyra's body shimmered again. "Then I'll make sure they can't." Before he could stop her, she released another pulse of light. It spread like a wave, forcing every guard to their knees. The doctor fell back, shouting for backup. Lyra turned to Ethan, tears falling now. "They'll hunt me until I'm dead. You can't follow." He reached for her hand, but she stepped back. "If they catch me, they'll use you against me. Please don't let them." The door behind her hissed open, leading to an escape shaft. She looked at him one last time, her voice breaking. "I'll come back if I survive the fever." Before he could speak, she leaped into the glowing tunnel and vanished into the shadows below. Ethan ran to the edge, shouting her name, but there was only silence and the fading echo of her glow. When the guards reached him, he didn't resist. He just whispered to himself, "She's not gone. I can still feel her heartbeat." Somewhere out there in the alien wilderness, her frenzy had begun, and Ethan knew he had to find her before it consumed her completely. The next morning, the station was silent. The alarms had stopped, but the tension remained like a ghost in the air. Ethan sat inside a holding room, his hands cuffed to the table, eyes staring at nothing. Every heartbeat felt like it belonged to someone else. He could still feel her faintly, a pulse far away, weak but alive. The guards had questioned him for hours. They wanted to know where Lyra went. He told them nothing because he didn't know, and even if he did, he would never give her away. When they finally left him alone, he noticed the guard outside was half asleep. That was all he needed. He slipped the small metal pin he had hidden from the hospital tray into the lock. It took one twist. The cuffs clicked open. Ethan stood, weak but determined. His body still ached from the crash and the treatments, but he had something stronger keeping him on his feet, the pull of that glowing bond. He moved quietly through the corridors, avoiding cameras. The hangar bay was guarded, but one shuttle was unmanned, a small atmospheric craft meant for surface patrols. He slipped inside, started the engines, and guided it toward the planet below. Through the window, the world spread out like a painting, endless jungles glowing faint green, rivers that shone like silver veins, and storms that moved slowly across the horizon. Somewhere down there, she was alive. The ship landed near a dense forest. The air outside was warm and heavy with mist. Strange lights flickered between the trees, and the ground pulsed faintly under his boots. The planet felt alive, like it was breathing. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. The glow on his wrist, the same color as Lyra's, flickered faintly, guiding him. It pulsed faster when he moved in the right direction. He followed it for hours, climbing over roots and pushing through vines that curled like snakes. Every sound made him tense, the echo of alien creatures calling in the distance, the rustle of unseen wings above. At dusk, he found a shallow stream. The water shimmered with faint blue light. He knelt to drink and froze. On the rocks nearby were faint glowing fingerprints on small, delicate, and recent. "She was here," he whispered. The air grew colder as night fell. The jungle glowed softly, full of colors he had never seen before. He followed the glowing tracks up a slope until he reached the entrance of a cave. Blue light pulsed faintly from inside. "Lyra," he called softly. No answer. He stepped in carefully. The cave was damp and smelled of moss. In the center, lying on the ground, was Lyra. Her skin was still glowing, but faintly like a dying flame. Her body trembled with every breath. Ethan rushed to her side. "Lyra, it's me." Her eyes fluttered open, half-lidded, dazed. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered weakly. "I told you I would find you," he said. "You'll get sick if you stay near me," she said. "My fever is at its peak. The air around me isn't safe." He ignored her warning and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let me take that risk." Her breathing slowed slightly. "You humans," she murmured. "You never stop," he smiled faintly. "Not when someone I care about needs me." Her hand reached toward him, trembling. "I can't hold it back much longer. My body, it's burning me alive. If I give in, I'll lose myself completely." Ethan shook his head. "Then don't face it alone. You fought it for too long already." She looked into his eyes, her glow reflecting in his pupils. For a moment, her pain eased. "You don't know what you're saying," she whispered. "I know enough," he said. "I know that I'd rather die here than go back without you." Her lips trembled. "You'd die for me?" "No," he said softly. "I'd live for you." For the first time she smiled, and weak but real. Outside, the storm began to grow. Thunder rolled through the jungle, shaking the ground. Lyra's glow flared again, brighter now, reacting to his presence. The air shimmered with strange energy. Ethan held her as the storm reached its peak. The glow around them expanded, merging into the lightning flashes outside. The cave walls lit up like crystal. Lyra whispered his name one last time before collapsing against him, unconscious but alive. The fever hadn't taken her yet, but it would soon if he didn't find a way to help her. He looked out at the storm through the cave opening. He knew the station's soldiers would come for her, or what they thought she had become. Ethan tightened his grip on her hand. "They won't touch you," he said quietly. "Not while I'm breathing." As the storm raged on, he held her close, unaware that their glowing bond was spreading, a sign that something far greater than instinct had begun. The storm outside raged all night. Rain fell in heavy sheets, hitting the rocks like distant drums. Inside the cave, Ethan sat beside Lyra, watching the faint glow under her skin rise and fall with each breath. Her pulse was weak but steady. Every time he looked at her, the bond inside his chest pulsed in rhythm, like his heart was keeping time with hers. When she finally stirred, her voice was soft and cracked. "You shouldn't be here," Ethan smiled faintly. "You've said that before." "I meant it," she whispered, opening her eyes. "You'll get sick. My energy is unstable. I can't hold it back anymore." He leaned closer. "Then let me help you control it." Her eyes glowed for a second, the blue deepening into gold. "You don't understand. Once the fever finishes its cycle, I'll either die or change. Change into what?" "Something my people fear," she said quietly. "Someone who doesn't belong to the old order. We were designed to resist emotion, to stay calm, perfect, logical. But now I feel everything." Ethan touched her hand gently. "Maybe feeling is what makes you alive." She looked at their joined hands, trembling. "Your touch, it calms the fever. When you're near, my body slows down. That's not supposed to happen." "Then maybe this isn't an illness," he said. "Maybe it's evolution." Lyra gave a tired laugh, small and sad. "You sound like the rebels who got exiled for saying that. The council called them corrupted." He looked at her glowing face in the dim light. "Then I guess I'm corrupted too." For a while they sat in silence, the rain outside echoing like waves. Lyra leaned against the cave wall, breathing slowly. The fever still shimmered through her skin, but less violently now. Then her eyes opened again, sharp with fear. "They're coming." Ethan turned. Through the rain he saw lights moving across the valley, drones searching, guided by the signal from his stolen ship. Lyra struggled to stand. "If they find me, they'll take me back. They'll drain my energy to study it. They'll use what's inside me." Ethan stood beside her. "Then we run." She shook her head. "You can't go far in your condition. Try me." He helped her walk through the narrow path behind the cave, leading deeper into the jungle. The storm had soaked the ground, turning it into slippery mud. Strange creatures watched them from the shadows, their eyes glowing softly. After what felt like hours, they reached a high ridge overlooking the valley. The lights were closer now. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted. "I can't move anymore," she said. "The fever's final stage is beginning. My body is rewriting itself. If I let it complete, I may not be me." Ethan crouched in front of her. "Then stop fighting it," her voice broke. "If I stop, I could hurt you. You'll die if our energies merge completely." He took her face in his hands. "Maybe it's not death. Maybe it's becoming something new." She stared at him for a long moment. "Humans are strange," she whispered. "You turn fear into hope." He smiled softly. "And you turn pain into light." Lyra's glow brightened, spreading over her body until the rain itself shimmered where it touched her. She reached out and pressed her palm against his chest. The golden light flowed from her hand into him, filling his veins with warmth. He gasped as his vision blurred. Flashes of her memories flickered through his mind. Her world, her people, her loneliness. He saw her saving him from the wreckage, saw the moment she first touched his blood and felt something she didn't understand. When the light faded, she collapsed against him, shaking. "It's done," she whispered. "We're linked now." "You shouldn't have allowed it." He held her tightly. Too late. The rain slowed outside. The sky began to clear, revealing faint silver stars. Lyra's glow dimmed until it was only a soft shimmer under her skin. Her fever was gone. She opened her eyes, surprised. I can still think. I can feel, but it's not pain anymore." Ethan smiled. "Looks like your body decided to live." She touched his chest and felt the same faint glow under his skin. "You carry it too now," she said softly. "Part of me inside you. Then you're never alone again." For the first time, she didn't argue. She just leaned her head against his shoulder as the storm clouds drifted away. Somewhere far above, the station's sensors lost her signal completely. To them, she was gone. But in that hidden corner of the alien world, something new had been born. Not sickness, not frenzy, but a bond that no law or species could explain. Dawn came slowly over the alien jungle. The storm had passed, leaving the air cool and silent. Mist drifted between the glowing trees, and the ground sparkled with morning light. Ethan opened his eyes to see Lyra still beside him, her head resting on his arm. For a moment, it felt like peace had returned to the world. Her glow was softer now, pulsing gently beneath her skin, like the steady rhythm of life. When she stirred, her eyes opened clear and calm. The fever was gone. She breathed deeply and looked at him. "You're still here," she said quietly. "Where else would I go?" he replied with a tired smile. Lyra sat up slowly, touching her chest. "The bond. It's stable now. I can feel your heartbeat inside me. It's strange but comforting." Ethan nodded. "Feels the same for me. Guess we're connected for good." She studied him, curious. "Your body should have rejected my energy. Instead, it adapted. You shouldn't even be alive." He looked at his hands. Faint, golden lines glowed under his skin, tracing his veins like light. Maybe that's the point. Maybe this was supposed to happen. Lyra fell silent. She looked out over the jungle, the horizon filled with soft colors of dawn. If the council finds out, they'll call us an anomaly. They'll never let this exist. "Then we don't let them find us," Ethan said simply. She turned to him, surprised. "You'd leave everything behind?" He gave a small laugh. "What's left for me up there? I was just another soldier. Down here I've got something worth fighting for." For the first time she smiled fully. It made her look almost human. They spent the day gathering what they could. Fruits from the glowing vines, water from crystal streams. Ethan's strength returned faster than expected, almost unnatural. Lyra noticed it too. "Your body's merging with the bond. You're healing like one of us now." "Guess I'm half alien already," he said, grinning. She looked at him softly. "You're more than that. You're the first of something new." As night fell, they built a small fire under the shelter of giant leaves. The jungle sang with quiet sounds, gentle wind, distant hums of life. Ethan leaned back, watching the stars appear above. "I used to look up at those and wonder if there was anyone out there," he said. "Now I know there was, and she found me." Lyra looked at him from across the fire, her eyes glowing faintly. "And you changed everything." A sudden rumble shook the ground. They both turned toward the sky. A faint blue light was descending, a search drone. "They're still looking," Lyra said, standing quickly. Ethan grabbed her hand. "We can't keep running forever. There's got to be another way." She closed her eyes, thinking. "There is. The signal that tracks me is in my bloodstream. If I release the bond completely, they'll lose it. But I'll lose the connection to you too." He stared at her, silent for a long moment. "And if you don't? They'll find us. They'll take us both." Ethan stepped closer, holding her shoulders. "You once told me my touch stopped your fever. What if our bond can stop this too, not by losing it, but by using it?" Her eyes widened slightly. "You mean overload the signal?" He nodded. "Together." She hesitated only a moment before taking his hands. Their joined glow flared brighter than ever. The ground vibrated and energy pulsed outward in waves of light that rolled through the forest. Above, the drone's sensors overloaded and exploded in mid-air, falling in pieces through the trees. The light faded slowly, leaving them standing in silence, breathing hard. Lyra looked up at the stars again. "They'll think we're dead." "Then let them," Ethan said. She stepped close and rested her forehead against his. "You've lost your world because of me," he smiled softly. "No, I found one." In the distance, the forest glowed brighter, reacting to the energy they released. New flowers opened, their petals shining gold. The planet itself seemed to welcome the change. Lyra watched in awe. "Do you see that? The bond didn't just link us, it changed the world around us." Ethan took her hand. "Then maybe it wasn't a curse. Maybe it was the beginning of something bigger." The wind carried the soft hum of life through the trees as the two of them stood together, their hands glowing faintly in the dawn light. Lyra looked up at him one last time and whispered, "My frenzy ended when you stayed." Ethan smiled and pulled her close. "And my purpose began when you found me." As the sun rose over the alien world, two heartbeats echoed as one, a human and an alien bound not by instinct, but by choice. And in that quiet morning, the universe felt new again.